Today's video, we talk with our favorite paralegal, Bita Di Lisi, about a tenant that was evicted by a sheriff and moved back in that very weekend. This is how we get to handle it right after this. Here we are, my friends. As promised, it's our favorite paralegal in the Toronto area, Bita Di Lisi. How are you?
I'm well, Gary. How are you?
I am doing excellent. And we were just talking off camera. For those that are connected with the brokers that I represent, KW Realty Centers, we had Bita on for our entire brokerage, and she did some training for us. And great feedback from our agents to you. But I just wanted to announce that publicly, but also to let everyone know that you do a lot of public speaking and training for various different organizations. Is that right?
We do. Absolutely.
Yeah, I always say, use the professionals. As a realtor, I'm not a paralegal, so we use professionals, and that's why Bita is here. Okay, I always love it, and the cadence of our videos every couple of weeks. What story do you have in tune for us today?
Wow. Here I was thinking, wow, this has been a quiet week, but nope. Last Friday, we had an eviction. And every time we have an eviction, we have a member of our team attend on site to meet the sheriff with the landlord or their superintendent or their property manager. And one of our instructions is have a locksmith present or someone who knows how to change the locks. And this landlord says, no, don't worry. The tenant is going to give me the keys, and rightfully so. The tenants gave them the keys, and a member of our team was there as well. And he told them, you better go to Home Depot, change that lock right now. He went to Home Depot. He didn't pick up a lock, or for whatever case, he didn't pick up the right lock. The sheriff came, did the eviction. They left. Our team member left. The landlord left, and then over the long weekend, guess who regained access to the property through a window?
That is crazy. I'm going to guess that tenant for those that are playing along. Ding.
Very good guess. Yes, it's very important that after an eviction, that the property is secure. Windows are locked, doors are locked, back door is locked, the garage door remote, the code is changed, or the access door from the garage is locked, because you don't want the tenant or anybody who has or may have a key to access the property. I mean, especially after you've waited 8 to 10 months to evict them.
Yeah.
So please follow the instructions of your legal rep. We're not saying it to cost you money. We're saying it because we want to avoid the tenant or anybody else regaining access back to the property.
Yeah, and that's so true. And I've known I've showed up to some of my properties with multiple locks, because sometimes you don't know what you need. So
That's
you
right.
just go buy a variety. You can always take them back. Or keep them in your trunk for other occurrences. Yeah. And I would also say too, but especially in today's times, it's probably best to be there with, with a partner, or go with your colleagues. So there's at least two of you there, because who knows what could happen, and who knows what needs to be reported at a later date, right?
That's right. We provide evictions as a service, and we have a member of our team who only does evictions, obviously in the GTA, to attend the hearing, because for many reasons. Number one, they know the sheriff. There's only a handful of sheriffs. And number two, that just in case something happens and you can't reach our office via phone or via email for whatever reason, at least you have a team member, a Stonegate team member on site to deal with it.
That's right.
Right? Maybe you need to drive to Home Depot. You need someone to stay at the property. Who knows?
That's right. Yeah, you need
Right?
you need a doorman or somebody, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Literally need a doorman, a lockman,
Yeah.
a lock person. Yeah, exactly. We kind of laugh and chuckle about some of these things, but on one hand, that's the way that's the way I look at life. Always on the bright side, right? But these stories, like, this is real life stuff. We're not just making this up. Like, this all the stories that Bita shares and that we share, this happened to us or this happened to our colleague, and we want to make sure that you, the investor, are well informed, and the tenant is well informed of what's right and what's wrong, that type of thing. So here's something interesting. Of course, we're Bita and I are both in the Toronto area, and as you may know, there's a big mayor race going on in Toronto. And I caught this headline yesterday, and you and I both didn't dive into it, but it is definitely something that we need to talk less of and do more action in. And
Yes.
that's the, we need more housing in Toronto. And part of the debate yesterday for the mayor race was affordable housing and so forth. And we had a conversation, you and I, off camera. You had a really interesting take on it. To share with what, obviously we need affordable housing, but share with us
Yes.
why, in your world, why maybe that's so important as well.
So in our world, I think we need more affordable housing because I think it would solve some of the issues with respect to non-payment of rent. And the reason why I say that is, back in 2004, 2005, people were renting properties as a stepping stone to home ownership. For example, I remember one of the properties that I owned back then was a townhouse, and it was a small townhouse, probably 1,100 square feet, a 3 bedroom, and I at the time I believe I was renting it out for something around $1,000, maybe 1,000 or 1,000, I don't know, 1,050, something around that. And the tenants were great tenants; they lived there for 4 years. But now that same townhouse is worth probably $3,000 a month. I mean, who can afford that for rent? And even if you can afford that for rent, how long can you afford it before it becomes unsustainable and you are going to fall behind? And I think that's the issue, Gary, is that with the rent prices being so high, the market it being so high, how is it possible to get a tenant a long term?
Long term, yeah.
Right? People are
And
paying $3,000-$4,000 for rent. It's
yeah.
insane.
It is incredible, and yes, Toronto does typically have higher income earners, but also it just means we have a lot more people, right? And
Yes.
not everyone can afford the 3, 4, and you had mentioned even some cases as much as $5,000 a month for some homes, and then you had also mentioned that, well, if it's $5,000 a month for first and last month's rent, that's $10,000. They're showing up to the app or showing up with the application, right? It is a lot of money, and I know in the debate, the kind of the highlights that I was watching, there was a few of the candidates that were talking about how to remove some of the red tape, as it were, in order to have more builds happen, more shovels in the ground, and yeah, I think we're all in agreement with that. So neither Bita and I, are experts in that field, but we do know that housing obviously is a human need and a human right, but in the same case, so is safe housing, right? Um, we need to be providers of that as well. And yeah, I think what we're learning over this mayor race is less talk and more action, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think all all of the candidates can agree to affordable housing, but getting there is going to be quite the uphill battle with the rise in the interest rates, and landlords that even the landlords can barely afford the expenses.
Yeah.
Um, Even if the property is paid off, there's still property taxes, there's still utilities, there's still maintenance, preventative maintenance, so forth and so on.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. So I do want to shed a glimmer of good news in a sense in the landlord tenant world, the LTV. And I know we've talked about this in some of our previous videos. Is the speed in which we're getting some of that information back from the LTV. Talk to us about notice of hearings and where that's kind of lining up. Because really, at the end of the day, I want to evict a tenant. How do I get them out? How long is it going to take? Talk like just kind of keep us up to date with what's going on there.
Okay, so before you fully do your happy dance, okay, I want to tell you that I'm happy to say that we are receiving notices of hearings quicker. Okay, but that's just it. We are receiving them quicker. It doesn't mean they're scheduled quicker. So, for example, if we file an application today, I may receive a notice of hearing in the next, let's say in the next week. Okay. But that hearing date is still scheduled for probably 6, 7, 8 months in advance. So we are receiving notices quicker. But again, I mean, the dates are still farther out in advance. Things are getting a little better, I can say. Hopefully, the next step is we'll receive them quicker and we'll get a date quicker.
There you have it. There you have
Right?
it. So listen, that's important. You will get
That's
that
important.
information back sooner than we were, say, a month or 2 or 3 ago. But the actual date that you're going to be providing your matter is still months and months out. But here's something else I want to touch on, and we talked about this too. The province is hired and is in the process of hiring more adjudicators, and as frustrating as that is, and as exciting as that is, the frustrating thing is they don't come with specific expertise that an adjudicator, an experienced adjudicator, has. And as I said, I'm the glasses half full. I'm the optimist. Well, if we know that, let's still play within the sandbox that they give us. And again, and we talk about this every video. If we know that, it's so important to have people like Bita and her team, because the paperwork and everything is so important. I know we keep talking about this, but we're going to keep talking about it until everyone understands it, right?
Yeah, it's so important. Yesterday, I was on a hearing. I was actually observing one of my paralegals. She was doing a hearing. She was doing fantastic. And while we were observing the hearing, there was an elderly landlord. The elderly landlord must have been something like 86 years old. And the adjudicator, whom I did not recognize, I'm assuming he was one of the new batch, started really getting aggressive with this 86-year-old landlord who sounded a little confused because the paperwork he filed was about a year and a half or 2 years ago. And at the end of the matter, they dismissed it. He dismissed it. So the elderly landlord, I guess he's going to have to start the process over again, but just the adjudicator's behavior, treating this elderly man, I mean, landlord or tenant, I mean, it was really revolting.
Wow.
The
Yeah.
circus of the board, but things really need to change. That's what I mean is even hiring on the batch of new adjudicators, it's still going to take time to train them, not
Yeah.
just on the law, but with how to professionally speak to someone at a hearing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where you want to enter into, partnership with Stonegate and Bita. They do this every day, multiple times
Yeah.
a day. Whereas, maybe somebody like me or someone that's watching this, they go once every couple of years. And trust me, that is not the experience you want to be bringing to the table on a matter such as important as someone that's, not paying you rent or vandalized your property or anything like that. Like, I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope you won't get yelled at, but uh, that's just the landlord and tenant board. But I'm happy to say things are moving along a little bit quicker. We're hoping that with receiving notices of hearings sooner rather than later, the next thing to come will be hearings to be scheduled sooner with the hiring of all these adjudicators. So after they're done their trainings, hopefully the board will be able to schedule hearings quicker.
Yeah, yeah. And just as we're saying, if that's why it's so important to have the right paralegal on your team, and you don't want to be entering into a matter and presenting your case in front of someone that doesn't have the experience to listen to it. So you need the experienced presenter to present it. How's that sound? There you go. I
That's
knew we'd get
great.
there. I knew we'd get there some way. This is always great stuff. I love checking in with you every couple of weeks because your stories are always insightful. Hate to say it, entertaining but educational, right? That's what we never want to. We always want to learn from other people, and we certainly are learning from you and the landlords that you represent. And I know the landlords that you represent are very, very grateful for your services. How do people get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of us, check out our website. You can book an online call, a discovery call, stonegatelegalservices.ca. You can also add us to your social media, or follow us and like us on Facebook and Instagram. We always tend to provide updated videos and great stuff of value with respect to what's happening in the realm of landlords and tenants. So definitely do connect with us. You may not need us now, but the information is great and very informative.
Outstanding. So there you have it, my friends. That's our good friend, Bita Di Lisi. And I'm, of course, Gary McGowan. We'll see everybody in the next video. Bye for now.